there, everyone. Dave Barlow here with Sell for 1% Realtors. We got the whole gang here this morning. We got JB, MH, another JB, and RC. RC Cola. Do you remember that, don't you?
I sure do.
That's for us old timers.
Back when rates were this high last time.
Probably about right.
Yeah, that's about right.
That's a good point.
They still serve RC Cola at NCS baseball.
Oh, do they really?
I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure it's on tap.
It's still out there somewhere, I believe. Yeah.
It's super
I'm not
cheap.
much of a cola drinker. Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing
all sport.
The only thing cheaper was Big K.
Oh yeah. Hey man, Big K, that was the closest thing to tasting the Dr. Pepper than anything else was. So 100%.
You know, when I came home from college, which was 1984 from Kent State, we became connoisseurs of bad beer because none of us had any money. And so kind of like this whole thing here, Big K Cola, Big Red. I think Big Red's still around. But you learn to live with what, I mean, I've got family down in Southern Ohio that, the cheaper the better. And so,
well, yeah, I used to live off of Little Caesars $5 pizzas when I was 18, 19.
Yeah, I grew up in the Pittsburgh area, and of course it was Iron City.
Oh boy,
beer. But then it was IC Light was the big thing back then.
You also had,
it was one of the first light beers.
You also had Tech, and I think Old Frothenstrasse was from the Pittsburgh area.
Yeah, and Duquesne beer. Duquesne beer was
Duke and Heine.
Yeah.
I can tell you that the worst of the bad beers was Iron City.
Yeah,
it literally tasted like rust.
I didn't really like beer enough to drink Iron City Light. It came to that. I mean, I just go all the way to hard liquor at that point.
I think over at Wheeling, we still had IC.
Yeah,
I'm sure. And the best of the bad beers was Burger Beer, Burger from Cincinnati, and it was actually tolerable. So anyway,
well, back when you guys were getting sloshed in 1984. The rates were 13.44% in 1984.
All right.
So you had to drink it away with pure rust.
So
you had to drink it away with something, right?
Yeah. So basically, 39 years ago, rates were higher than they are today.
Yeah, by almost double.
Yeah. So if you look at it from that perspective, rates are great.
Speaking of which, Rich, where are you today?
Well, it's early. We're talking right now. It's just after 10 in the morning. So the markets are still digesting the morning news, and we're just getting pricing now. But it appears that we're, again, depending on factors of a person's credit and down payment, we're high sixes at the very best. And with any kind of a little adjustment, we're at a 7% 30-year fixed rate right now. And that's so conventional.
Where do you see this headed? And I mean, it was interesting, our conversations like back in November, December, there was a lot of talk. Oh, Fannie Mae says rates by the time we get to spring is going to be down in the 5s, maybe even lower. And here we are at 7. So the predictions, and not necessarily your predictions, but everybody in the market seemed to be that way. And I know it's hard to say where are rates headed. Who would have thought, 2 weeks ago we were in the high 5s. And now here we are basically 2 weeks later. Where do you think this is going to settle? Any ideas?
Well, they're pricing in more Fed rate increases for the remainder of 2023 at this point. But I did see something on CNBC this morning. It was just a blip, and I didn't really digest it completely. But they are pricing in Fed decreases by the end of 2024 at this point. So we could, if the forecasts hold true, we could see a little bit more up and then some down and it's all number dependent, Dave, as I said before. Typically we get unemployment numbers, which is probably the biggest number. We get those typically on the first Friday of the month. But ironically, this month it's not coming out until next Friday. So we'll have to wait until next Friday to see what the unemployment rate is and what the job creation rate or number was, because last month, as we discussed, it was over 500,000 new jobs created. At least that's what the statistics said. There was some talk of there was possibly some monkey business with the numbers, and whether that will play itself out in the other direction this week, I don't know. But we're all number dependent is the answer to your question. And right now the numbers have all pointed to higher inflation and a strong job market. Until we see that indication start to go the other way, I think the rates will continue to stay high and maybe go higher.
So for buyers that are out there thinking about purchasing a home, I guess there's two ways to look at it. Some buyers are going to say, well, I'll wait till rates come down. And those were the buyers from 6 months ago. And now rates are higher than they were even 6 months ago. Or you have the buyer that says, well, if I buy now and interest rates go to 8, 9, or 10%, then I've actually saved some money. And so what do you think of those? Is there any other theories out there?
Well, what I would say about that is that, a year ago, rates were much better. But even 6 months ago, people were saying that, rates were too high. They were in the 5s back at that point. Now they're in the 7s almost. And and you guys could maybe point to this more than I could, but the market is appreciating in Columbus, Ohio so quickly.
Yes.
that let's say that we get a 7% appreciation rate. I don't know what the rate is considered to be right now, and I think again it's anecdotal, but let's say it's 7% appreciation. If that continues and you fail to buy a house because you want you think the rate is 1% too high, every year you're losing every year on a $400,000 house, $28,000 of equity that you could have accumulated because you wanted a slightly lower rate. So if you can afford the higher rates and it fits into your budget, I think and you need a house, I think it behooves you to buy one. That would be my opinion.
And so, Jay, you've done some research on interest rates over the past 30 years, and we had a conversation a little bit about this yesterday. The average interest rate over the last 30 years is 8.7%. So, we're still well below, but you mentioned a little bit earlier that back in 1984, it was 13 point what?
13.4, something like that.
So I remember, when my mom and dad bought a house, they were up near 18% and, thought they got a good rate then. Everything's relative. Interest rates, I think we got kind of ruined on the 3% rate. We all hope that it would stay there. Obviously it hasn't, but historically, we're still in pretty good shape versus, what it has been. And like you said, Jay, you came into the business in 2005.
Yes, sir.
So 18 years, half your life has been in real estate.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Isn't that nuts?
You should have got a lot smarter.
I should be paid a lot more. So what I find the most interesting is the relationship between interest rates and the cost of money and just, the economy at whole. And, as Rich is talking about, how this is all numbers based. I mean, it's kind of weird because like in January, when the reports came out that, we had way more jobs than we thought, I thought to myself, oh, crap, that means they're going to raise rates again because what they've done has not done enough to slow down the economy. I mean, that's why you would raise the rates is to slow down the economy a little bit. And so as it's like I said, it's a weird inverse relationship. So as the economy does better, that is going to then drive interest rates even higher. And so, but if the economy comes down, then you can't afford the payments on, the high priced homes. So, I mean, it's something, will give eventually. If rates could settle back down, that'd be awesome. But, what's I find interesting is, 18 years ago when I got in, it was 7%. And what we learned back then, or what I learned back then as a new agent was, as you got like the 7.1, 7.05, people would kind of hold and wait for it to get below 7. Then when it was 6.8, everybody's buying. Then the rate would fluctuate to 7.1 again, and the buying would stop.
Right.
And so now you have kind of the inverse of that, where, hey, maybe it was 6.8 for somebody yesterday, but today they see 7. Mentally they're going to pause until they see it hit 7.4, 7.5, and you realize it's not going to stop.
Yeah.
And so, to Rich's point, to me, it's about the neighborhood and the house, versus the rate. Even back in, the Great Recession, it's not like every single market is hit identically across the country, even inside of Columbus. Grove City went down a lot more than Upper Arlington did. I bet Upper Arlington even appreciated during that time. And so, and maybe depreciation, no, but the drop wasn't nearly the same. And so, same thing here. No one really knows what's going to happen with rates, with pricing, but if you follow the historical trends, it's not going to be like falling off of the cliff. It took a long time to build all this up. It'll take a long time for it to unwind. And you got to start to ask yourself, are they going to let it unwind? Or are we going to start pumping this back up again?
Yeah.
I have a hard time thinking that Democrats or Republicans are going to let, things implode on their watch. I mean, I expect they'll find a way to stimulate things when, at a certain point and breathe life back into everything. So, raise rates up now, and then you got room to bring them back down later. I mean, it's an interesting relationship with the cost of money and kind of having the economy on rails, with the Fed overwatching everything. But a lot of this is way out of our control.
Well, one of the things you hear the term, it's the new norm. And now, you watch gas prices is a perfect example. Gas got up to $5, $6 a gallon, and now it's down to $3. And so it's not that gas has doubled in price in the last 2 years. It's gas has come down $1.50 a gallon, and I suspect we're going to see the same thing with interest rates, that if we get up to 7, 7.5, and then they come back down to 6.5, it's not that interest rates doubled from 3. It's that interest rates have now come down 1%, and everything's good.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right.
So
it's all a big, game of mental judo. The sleight of hand.
Exactly.
Right. But I get your point though, Jason, about the mental aspect of that first number when that it's a 6 or it's a 7. Even though maybe it's only an 1/8 or a quarter difference in rate, mentally it stops people.
It's the Walmart theory.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why Walmart sells shirts for $9.98, because when you cross over the $10 mark, you become the target buyer. It's a mental block for people. So
Right.
All right. Well, I guess, the good news is that we still have the 2-1 buy down programs. There's some other programs out there. I know that, the sellers that I talk to do have interest in helping buyers participate in those kinds of programs. And so, even though we're at 7%, a 2-1 buy down, we can get you down to 5% on the first year, 6% second year. And that, can equal a few dollars savings in your pocket. And then with any luck, interest rates will come down in the next year or two. You can refinance and off you go. So, or
Right.
worst
Well,
case,
something else that's available is a lot of these loans that were done at 3% over the last 2-3 years. A lot of those are assumable loans.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's, if you don't really know where to start as a buyer, I mean, there's creative ways, give us a call. There's creative ways, to do this. I mean, there'll be things like lease options that start coming back into play here, but, right now there's assumable loans that are out there. You can buy down points. Rich has got a calculation to see if that makes financial sense for you to do or not. I mean, there's options out there. I mean, it's all perspective. Like, like I said, when I started, it was 7%, but like Mike and Jamie, a lot of realtors in the game, we got 10,000 realtors now. I bet half of those people, don't know what assumable mortgage is. Just because rates have been coming down, you never had to assume somebody else's mortgage.
Yeah, it was 4.5 when I started. So I haven't even
Right.
seen 5. Yeah.
you have now.
That's for sure.
All right, Richard. Thank you, good sir. I appreciate your
Thanks for
time
having
on
me.
this.